Our story is more than what hobbits and elves know. It is time we told it ourselves.
It's a little more comprehensive note on building a circle. Figure out where you want the center of it to be, right? So let's pick this X where the design comes together. Okay? Stand on your circle. Now, if you're doing a very wide one and you're able to do it from the ground, let me get my axe out of the way. Then you can do it from the ground. The point is to give yourself a point to designate from, and you spin on the axis from that as you go around. Okay? You don't have to spin your dwarf, you just need to spin your view. But if you're doing it very wide, as opposed to not like a 2 tile wide floor tile, you're trying to go but for like 4 tiles, like I did. I think that's 3. That tower up there. Then I found making yourself a platform to stand upon to get yourself up in the air, right? Makes it easier to do a bigger one so you can see what you're doing and look around. But if you're doing a smaller tower, you can get away with just a single tile on the ground. It has to be natural ground. If you try to do it on top of adamant blocks or floor tiles, it will tend to snap to that instead of freely moving. And you need it to be able to freely move to do the tower because you have to mesh the column pieces together. And you have to do column sections, not full columns, because the full column will tend to snap together. Column sections you can glide and mesh into each other. They don't snap. They will snap, but they also glide through each other, right? They slide back and forth. So we have the column base and then the small column base, which is funny because I think those are bigger. I don't know why they're labeled as small. The regular column base are super short, so you have to do more segments. I actually prefer the small column base because of the fact that, let me bump this out more. Because of the fact that, and I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. I prefer the small column base, which I think is actually bigger, because of the fact that they're taller segments. So, because they're taller segments, you don't need as many of them, right? So you have less pieces for the game to generate with. So pick your spot. And my preference is so you can help find your spot if for some reason you have to back away, like a wolf comes in to get you or something. First things first, let's do a spin. Make sure we've got room all the way around us. You're standing in place. You're only spinning your view, right? If you want it to be bigger, you bump it out, the piece out further. Do your spin. Make sure you're not going to interfere like that would interfere with that torch, right? So let's bring it in a little bit so you can see what's going on a little easier. Okay, so I prefer to do my 4 points. It doesn't have to be straight on north, straight on southwest. Just pick 4 points at what seems to be 90 degrees, right? Turn 90 degrees, plop one down, turn 90 degrees, plop one down, turn 90 degrees, and plop one down. And you can tell that they're all being set on the same level. I don't know why the light's being funky. But so if you have to step away for some reason, because something comes to attack you or you have a siege or something, then you have your granite single tile to stand on as your marker, right? And then you stand and adjust your piece until you see it spin and line up with, before it snaps in there, it lines up with it. You'll tell if you're off because you'll see it jump back and forth, right? So this gives you, putting the 4 down, gives you a way to make sure you're lined back up again. Because if you come back and you get off the mark, you're going to notice it. And I wish this wasn't doing the funky thing right now. Okay, so I go for about a half column width, sinking it in. I haven't tried too much less than that. I go more than just barely touching. I try to sink it in at least halfway. So like just after it stops snapping from that one. So it's about halfway, maybe a little bit less. And you just start in a direction and you keep going. And I like this small column base because of the fact that it has all those notches on it. So it helps you kind of set up a frequent angle, right? And you have to go slow, right? I know some of you old timers like to go really fast, but you do want to, this is the one thing you want to take care in putting down. The first layer is going to take some time. Okay, so sometimes you'll run into this issue where it doesn't want to do it. So you can get rid of one, come back to it, make sure you're lined up still. So go to the next one, right? So we're still lined up. And then keep going. You just don't want to move your spot, right? Don't move your stick to move your character. You're just spinning your view. That's really weird. I've never had that issue before. Where it's not liking when we meet up with the next one. But you can see how it doesn't snap. So if you go too fast and you don't have patience, you can have some pretty noticeable inconsistencies. But they definitely have to be meshing into each other. So like this one doesn't have a problem. So we can pretty much get away with, I think, just squeezing one in there. Sometimes they're too slippery. Look, there's a slight drop down there for some reason. And if you did it right, it should mesh right up with the next one. So I might have to get rid of that one. Oh boy. Chink it just a little. Okay, so you've got your circle. Okay, looks pretty good. So next we're going to do the next section. Once you've got your circle done, you're pretty much golden, because now it'll snap to the one below it, right? And again, you have to take your time. You can't rush it, because you can actually, with these, because they have those notches on them, you can go halfway even. The biggest trick is to make sure you're paying attention to your orientation, because you'll notice it on the pattern if you've got it wrong. So you have to look at the lines, right? The lines are pointing out as opposed to the flat side. So the line's pointing out. Now this is something I've actually found is easier for me to do standing on top of it. But this is where you have to take your time and make sure you're not missing one, because you'll notice it as you go up. Oh look, I flipped it. You see that? It got flipped in the middle. I think that's because I had to delete that one, so it rotated it. I didn't pay attention to the fact that it was rotating, because it always orientates the lines towards you. Which means it's going to flip again when I get to that other one that I deleted, right? Yep, this is the one. I should have another flip happening here again. Maybe. No, these are all flat sides. And then sometimes you'll run into where you have trouble getting one in. And usually deleting one in the middle or next to it will allow you to just put it back. And then you just keep building up as far as as tall as you want to go. So 2 column lengths will give you 1 floor of these small column bases, and I think you have to do 3 or 4 for that other one. So, and then you put your toppers on, and then when you're ready to do your entranceway, you figure out which way you're going to do your entranceway. When you're ready to do your windows, depending on how tight or how big you want your windows, it's just usually 2 pieces need to get knocked out. If you do them tighter than that, then it'll be a smaller window. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.